even dive into the message, tonight's a little more serious than normal. It's a very serious topic. It's something that isn't super fun for me to talk about, but I think it could be really helpful for some people. It could be something that really, really impacts your life. So that's why we're talking about it. But before we even dive into the message, I want to give you kind of a breakdown of what the message is for and what this whole night is for. I know I mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, but the whole point of this night is to grow closer to God. And if that's something you want to do, the only way you're going to do that, of growing closer to God, is if you choose to do that during this time. So during the message, during the small group time, the only way you're going to get something out of tonight is if you actually are intentional about it, or meaning the only way you're going to get anything out of tonight's message is if you personally choose to take something from it. So that means you get to choose whether or not your phone distracts you. You get to choose whether or not your friend that's next to you distracts you. Because, I'm like you. If my phone, I got an Instagram, I got a text. You're going to get texts. You're going to get likes right now. Shh. You're going to get those things right now. But you get to choose whether you look at it or you get to choose whether it distracts you. So right now, I hope you're choosing to grow instead of having that distract you. Same thing with your friends. Right now, you're sitting next to your friends who you probably love hanging out with. You'll get a chance to chat with them, but right now you get to choose whether you want to let them distract you or not, or the people you're with, or the group you're with, or where you're sitting. So right now, my one request for you guys is be intentional about learning. Choose right now to learn, and if you can't be respectful of other people, I'll just have my leaders probably ask you to go to the back of the room or go downstairs, because I know there are some people here that really, really want to grow. Can we agree on that? And I promise to do my very best to be fun and engaging. But like I said, tonight is a serious message. So let's get to it. But before we dive into the message, I want to pray. So if you guys would bow your heads with me, that'd be great. Hey, God, help us learn tonight. Help us not have things distract us. Help us just connect with you in some way, whether that's just learning about you for the first time, whether that's just talking about you for the first time, or that's learning that we have worth in you. So help us grow in whatever way that is. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, so our series that we're kicking off with is Songify, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at top 40 songs that you hear on the radio all day, every day. Who was here was the same songs over and over and over. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at these songs. We're going to talk about a few of them, and we're going to see what we can learn from them, because people tend to sing about things that maybe you're struggling with, maybe that you value, maybe that you deal with. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about those and see how they relate to with what God says we should do or experience or value. Does that make sense? Well, before we talk about this one particular song that we're going to do tonight, which is the 1-800-Suicide Hotline song by Logic. I think you've all heard it before. Before we talk about that song, I want you to think about yourself once. Have you ever had a super low moment in your life where you felt maybe you were just a failure, or you were feeling down on life, or feeling you're not good enough, or you're not able to succeed or move forward with life? I know I personally have. I'm a little older than you guys, but I've personally had times where I felt like I was failing in school, I just couldn't get that A that I wanted, or I couldn't get the grade I wanted. Or I've had moments where I felt like I didn't have friends to go to, I'd call someone up and no one would answer. Or I felt like my worth was only on how many people liked me or how many friends I had in my group. Or I felt like sometimes I let people down that I was really close with, and I wasn't worthy to be friends with them anymore. I've had times where I felt I was ugly or not fit enough. Or I've had times where I felt I got in so much trouble that I wouldn't be able to recover and do the things I actually wanted to do. I've had times where I just felt like I was a big screw-up. Have you? Have you experienced at least one of those at some point? I think we all have. But there's one example we're going to talk about in the Bible that I think shows a guy that's a huge screw-up. There's this guy in the Bible who is known for being probably the biggest screw-up, and probably has gone down as the biggest screw-up in history. And it's actually one of Jesus's bros. Now, Jesus hung out with 12 dudes. He's hanging out with these 12 dudes, and they're going around, and Jesus is close with all 12 of these people. He's really close. And this one dude, his name is Judas. Judas is like a BFF with Jesus. He gets to see Jesus like teach. He gets to see Jesus do miracles. And I'm guessing he's getting like all the secrets from Jesus. And Jesus is like, hey, if you want to like do this magic trick or do this cool thing, boom. Like he's like learning all the ins and outs. Judas is learning everything from Jesus. So eventually this point happens where these religious leaders who don't really like what Jesus is doing because Jesus is changing everything for them. Jesus is saying, I think you guys have been doing it wrong. And I'm God's son. I'm trying to show you how to do it. And these religious leaders are like, I don't really like what you're saying because you're changing our world for us right now. So the religious leaders are like, let's get Jesus. Let's get rid of him. So what happens is these religious leaders, they go to Judas, one of Jesus' closest buds, and says to him, hey, if I give you some cash, you think you'd betray Jesus and like allow us to take him into custody and then get rid of him, kill him? Well, Judas says yes. Judas says yes, and it comes to this point where Jesus is having like this dinner, this amazing dinner, and I imagine it's like at this big banquet table. He's having this dinner with all his bros, and Jesus says, you guys, this is my last night. One of you is going to betray me. One of you is going to go against my back. And they're all like doing like one of these, like, what? Is it me? No. You know, like they're like freaking out, like who would betray you? We're like best friends right now. Yet it happens. After the dinner, Judas comes up and embraces Jesus. And it actually says he gives Jesus a kiss to signify who Jesus is so that these religious leaders who are with him, they're like, oh, that's Jesus. We're going to take him and get rid of him. Well, they take him and they get rid of Jesus and they start the process of killing Jesus. Judas, a so-called friend of Jesus, was willing to take money simply to set Jesus up. He was a guy who physically saw Jesus do things that only God could do, right? Yet still turned on Jesus to see him killed simply for money. And then Jesus was beaten. Jesus was bruised. He was mocked. He took all of this nasty stuff, and it all started with Judas. That's low. And Judas, after he experiences this and receives his money, he hits this complete low and struggle in life after it happened and is so mad at himself. I want to pause there in that story, though. Have you experienced a low like that? Maybe you felt you are worse than Judas. Or maybe you feel like, I'm not that bad. I haven't done that. But you've experienced things or done things that have made you feel like maybe you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You've messed up too many times. You're not normal enough. You don't fit in enough. You don't identify correctly. You're not good enough athlete. You've messed up too big. You're nobody. You're not as good as you want to be. You're someone who doesn't have anyone else to be worth anything. Well, these are all real feelings that I think some of you have felt before. Yet they aren't things that are true. And they aren't things that should define how you feel about yourself. These things are what the 1-800-SUICIDE song actually sings about. We're going to listen to it in a second here. And it's the song about people who have hit this low spot because they feel they just aren't who they think they should be. So we're going to listen to the song, and I really want you to focus on the words. I know you probably like sang to it a ton as you're like driving with your mom or dad or like just in the car or at home. You probably have heard the song. And I want you to listen to the words, though, actually, tonight. And it's going to be a video of him doing it live. And I want you to see how maybe it could relate to you. All right, so let's check it out.
I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. Who can relate? Ooh. I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. I don't wanna be alive. I don't wanna be alive. I just wanna die today. I just wanna die. I don't wanna be alive. I don't I'm talking about they think they know it. I've been praying for somebody to save me, no one's heroic. And my life don't even matter, I know it, I know it. I know I'm hurting deep down, but can't show it. I never had a place to call my own, I never had a home. Ain't nobody calling my phone. Where you been, where you at, what's on your mind? They say every life precious, but nobody care about. Say, I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. Who can relate? I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. Say, I want you to be alive. I want you to be alive. You don't gotta die today. You don't gotta die. I want you to be alive. I want you to be alive. You don't gotta die. Now let me tell you why.
It's the very first breath when your head's been drowning underwater. And it's the lightness in the air when you're there chest to chest with the lover. It's holding on though the road's long and seeing light in the darkest things. And when you stare at your reflection, finally knowing who it is, I know that you thank God you did. Yeah.
I know you're the reason I believe in life.
What's a day without a little night?
I'm just trying to set a little light. It can be hard. It can be so hard. But you gotta live right now. You got everything to give right. Say, I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. Who can relate? I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. Come on. I finally wanna be alive. I finally wanna be alive. I don't wanna die today. I don't wanna die. I finally wanna be alive. I finally wanna be alive. I don't wanna die. I don't wanna die.
Pain don't hurt the same, I know. But the lane I travel feels alone. But I'm moving till my legs give out, and I see my tears melt in the snow. But I don't wanna cry, I don't wanna cry anymore. I wanna feel alive, I don't even wanna die anymore. I don't wanna, I don't even wanna die anymore.
So I think that song's really powerful, actually. The song, it goes from this perspective of someone who is so low in life that they want to die, to being to a spot where they're reminded that they should live, to then a complete change of heart and saying, I do want to live, I do want to be alive. A few lines in this song that I think we all could connect with, whether we've experienced that complete lowness or maybe just a part lowness, is the first line it starts with is, I've been on the low, I've been taking my time, I feel like I'm out of my mind, I feel like my life ain't mine. Have you felt like that before? Like a time where you feel like you're trying to be someone that maybe like other people want you to be, like your life's not your own. And then another line or phrase goes, it's holding on though the road's long and seeing light in the darkest things. And when you stare at your reflection, you finally know who it is. And I know you'll thank God you did. When you're at a low time, are you making sure you do that? Of trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel, of trying to get past that dark moment, of trying to see who you really, really are. And then the last phrase I want to talk about is it says, it can be hard. It can be so hard. Like life can be so hard. But then it says, you got to live right now. You got everything to give right now. Have you realized that before? Have you realized that you have a lot to give to this world and that you have worth no matter what? If you've experienced this amount of low or are experiencing this, know that you have so much to live for. Your life is yours, and that you may be going through a rough spot, but it'll get better. Many times people say, like, God won't give you more than you can handle, or God won't give you more than you handle, or God's just testing you. Has anybody ever heard those phrases before? Yeah, so I think those are like common phrases. And for me personally, I think that's the wrong way to look at the struggle many of you may be experiencing in life. I don't think God wants us to ever experience hurt, pain, or a time of major trial. I want you to know that I think God actually is crying or mourning right there with you and saying, this sucks when you experience those low moments. But he's also calling you at that same time saying, come to me for comfort. Look to my love. Know how much I value you as I was willing to die so that I can have a relationship with you and to have you live. You will never be unworthy as I am even willing to die for people who killed me. Now, think about that for a second. You will never be unworthy as I am even willing to die for the people who killed me. And what that means is in Luke 23:24, Jesus says this as he's dying. He says, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. Jesus, our God, sees us so valuable that even the people who are literally killing him at that moment, he still says, forgive them. Give them life. They have a worthy life. To me, that would include even Judas. Even Judas. Even Judas, after doing all of that to Jesus, of betraying him completely, I think he could still receive that forgiveness, still have a life worthy to live. Yet Judas wasn't able to see that. He wasn't able to see God's love for him. Judas ended up actually killing himself because he wasn't able to see that God is one who would still love him even in the biggest mess up of the world. So what does that mean for us? First off, it should never be us, right? It should never be us, as right now I'm telling you that nothing can separate you from God's love and forgiveness. This is something maybe Judas never understood. In Romans 8:38 it says, and I am convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love, neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears for today nor our worries about tomorrow. Not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. Nothing can separate you from God's love. So no matter who you are or what you're struggling with, God still loves you. No matter who others say you are, you're loved and cared for by God. No matter how bad you think you've betrayed God, he still loves you. Alessia Cara and Logic, we're going to watch another quick video. They talk about who they're actually singing this song for, who they're fighting for as they sing this song. And they talk about it on Ellen. Does anybody know who Ellen is? Or is that just an old person thing? All right. Who likes Ellen? Anybody? Oh, what? Really? All right, cool. So we're going to see who they actually are singing this song for, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it.
You know, because what we wanted to do essentially, not only with this entire album, because the album, everybody is me kind of rapping and singing from the different perspectives of others, not just myself. Because as a rapper, you know, we kind of just talk about us all the time. And I was like, man, what can I do to, I don't know, just try to separate that and spread a positive message. And this song kind of embodies the whole album as well. And it wasn't sugar-coated. It was like really like, this is what people go through.
And why is this issue so important to both of you? Obviously, it's coming from a very personal place, but if you want to speak to that first, Alessia, and then...
I just felt that it was something so important that nobody really talks about, especially in the mainstream world. You know, it's always kind of a taboo, almost touchy subject to talk about, but this is real, and there are so many people, even people close to me, that have gone through this before and that have felt like their lives aren't worth it because of just being simply who they are.
Right.
And I just thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about that and let people know that they're not alone, you know?
Wow.
And Logic?
For me, yeah, it was just something that, like she said, like I was scared to even talk about this entire album because not just this song, but everything I've said is the fight for equality of every man, woman, and child, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, and sexual orientation, period.
God would forgive and see that each of these people groups that he mentioned at the end are loved and valued. No matter what race, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what action or belief or wrong thing someone has done, Jesus would still be willing to die for everyone and anyone. So as we know that, as that is the most important thing to know, that we have worth no matter who we are, what we do, or where we fit in, I have a few action steps for us to do, whether we are just experiencing maybe just experience like tiny moments of low in your life, and never to a point where you're like, yeah, I feel like I want to die. I think there's some action steps you can do, and I think these action steps also apply to a spot if you've ever experienced that lowness of complete life, of things that you can do to keep moving forward and to keep actually getting through life. The first one is actually what I just said. It's to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. For me, a couple of years ago, I went to seminary, and seminary is basically a school for pastors. And what happened is at seminary, you basically just like pull out the Bible and you read it all day long. Just kidding, you don't actually do that. But what seminary is it's a school for pastors where you learn how to teach about God. You learn about God and how to explain God and all that type of thing. So I go to the school, and it's a 3-year program I have to go to. So I go to my first class. Sitting in my class, trying to do really well. Well, after the first month of the class, my seminary professor basically tells me I'm a horrible writer. Basically says, Aaron, you're horrible. You're a horrible writer. That hit me hard. It hit me really hard. Yet, I didn't stop my seminary program from that. I kept going. I took the next class, and the next class, and the next class, and the next class, and the next class. And eventually, I had to finish writing a paper that was over 100 pages long. So I eventually became a better writer, but I kept moving forward, even when I was told I'm horrible at something. So what moving forward maybe looks like for you is continue to pursue your dreams, or continue to work your hardest, or continue to believe in yourself, even if you're told you can't, you failed, you're not good enough. For example, maybe you've been told you can't sing. You're not a good singer. Yeah, you're just okay. You're not that great. Maybe you should just keep working at it. Keep moving forward. Or maybe you're told you're not smart, so you keep moving forward to keep learning. Maybe you've been told you're not good enough at a sport, so you keep practicing. You keep moving forward. Well, this concept actually is something that's in the Bible. Paul, he says, "No, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead." What it's saying is, I'm not perfect, but I will keep moving forward to what lies ahead. Here's hopefully, I got a little fun video clip that maybe will be a fun reminder that can stick in your head. Check it out. It's 10 seconds long.
With Packers splash screen spotted at Chicago Police Headquarters. Oh my gosh, that's okay, guys. Here's what the Green Bay Police used to vacuum. Because the Bears still suck. Keep her moving. Using a spear to hunt frogs may soon be allowed in Michigan. Kermit, any comment? Moving right along. Keep her moving, Kermit.
What does he say? Keep her moving. That could be you guys. Keep her moving. When you hit those low spots, keep her moving. Keep moving forward. Keep trying. Keep working. The next step, I got 2 more. We're almost done. The next step is grace. Grace. Now, grace is like a super churchy word, isn't it? You only hear people say grace when you're at church. It's totally a churchy word. But many times, now I'm going to explain why I'm using this. Many times, broken people that are hurt inside, hurt broken people. If we are experiencing some major pain from something someone did or said, a lot of times they're broken. I used to be a teacher, and I used to see little kids do this to each other. If a kid didn't really like the shirt he was wearing, a lot of times he'd be like, "Your shirt's ugly. Why would you ever wear that? I can't believe you'd wear that," And a lot of times it's because they don't really like the shirt they're wearing. Broken people tend to hurt broken people. So know that if people say something low to you, hurtful to you, harmful to you, whatever it may be, they're probably broken themselves. That doesn't give them a right to do it, but know many times they are just as broken and damaged as maybe they just made you feel. And are more likely than not, they're simply trying to make themselves feel better. So for you, show grace. That means let go of the grudge that maybe they created, of that person saying something or doing something to you. Maybe it's trying to understand of why they maybe said what they did. Maybe it's letting go of that comment, not letting what others think of you determine your worth or how you feel, and forgiving them for their harshness. It's actually in the Bible as well. In Colossians, it says, "Make allowances for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you." So show grace to others and dismiss the negative things they say, as they many times are doing it simply to make themselves feel better. The last thing, that action step I think you can do if you experience moments of low is know your worth. Know your worth. Even if we are trying to move forward, so that was our first step, and we're trying to forgive or give grace to the person because we know they're just as broken as us, doesn't mean what happened to us doesn't hurt still. Things people say can hurt, it can cut, it can really cause some damage. In those moments, you need to remember the positives of life and that you are loved. In the song, they say, imagine the times. I'm going to give you a couple lines from it. They say, when you experience breath after you felt like you were drowning. You know what that feels like? You know, like the time you can't get your breath, like you're like, you can't breathe, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the worst feeling ever. And then finally you're like, sometimes that's life. Like you just feel like, I can't do it anymore. And then finally you get that breath. They sing about that in the song. And then they say the times of your loneliness, like experiencing those times of super low times, and then realizing that eventually you're going to have a moment where you're with someone you love and you want to be with them so bad. Or they sing about the times when you felt lost, but then you start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. You're in this pitch black area. You have no idea where you're going. You're so low, you just can't imagine going any further. But eventually you see a light and you get through. That's what life is like. You go through these lows and highs, but you gotta keep fighting when you're in the lows and get through them because it's gonna get better. So lastly, know your worth as you are so valuable to God. If you want to be reminded of that, I'm going to pray in a second. But I want to say one last thing on this topic as it's so important. If you're struggling with suicide or some of the things that they sing about in there, call that hotline, talk to me, go to a counselor, talk to whoever. Don't let it just sit. This is so important. That's why they did this song, is to bring awareness to it. So if you've ever experienced that, talk to someone. You're worthy. Your life is worth it. So I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to send you guys out into your groups. Hey, God, thanks for loving us no matter what happens in our life, no matter who we become, what we do, whatever life turns out for us. I just pray that you remind us that we're always worthy in your eyes, we're always valuable to you, and that you'll always use us for something good. So I just pray that you remind us of that. And if we're experiencing these moments of low, that you help us move forward with those action steps. And if we ever get to a spot where we're so low, that we take advantage of the people that do love us and want to reach out to us and want to talk to us and remind us that we are worthy. In your name we pray, amen.